Hey guys, hope you're well. My name is Rob. Welcome to the Kinetic Rugby League channel. So up on the screen, I've left a recap of the last round of the Challenge Cup predictions. There's a lot of easy games to predict, so I'm not really going to complain about how I did. It's just how it all went. But for this week, we've got some much tougher games to predict, so let's crack on with the first game of this week. Kicking things off, we have the Catalans Dragons taking on the Salford Red Devils. Now this is going to be quite a Salford-centric part of the video. There isn't too much that I can say on Catalans, so I'll get the first part of this out of the way and then dive into the second part. The first part is, if Salford have to play with a bunch of kids, I think we all know what kind of outcome we're going to get. So that's been mentioned, that's been put out there. If Salford have to use a bunch of kids, we know where it's going to go. But I think for the second part of this, I'm going to give Salford enough respect and actually talk about the game as though it was a proper game, because look, on a day-to-day basis, we've actually got no idea what's going to happen. We have no clue how things are going to go. And in terms of squads, there's no squads out at the moment at the time of recording. So we could end up with, a full-strength team. So I'll give Salford the respect that they deserve and talk about them as though they could put out a full-strength team against Catalans Dragons and talk about it as though it was a normal game. So if Salford can put out a proper team, the biggest detriment that they're going to face is just preparation and repetition as a team. Players, even that have been refusing to train and play, will still be keeping themselves fit and healthy away from the training ground. They'll be keeping up to date with their fitness. They'll have gym equipment at home, or they'll be going to the gym, making sure they're still staying strong, eating right, staying fit and healthy. But in terms of how they play as a unit, offensively and defensively, there are going to be some disconnects there. Now, we saw when they had a decent team out against Huddersfield, they do have individuals that can create these sparks, these moments of quality. A lot of it came from Jaden Nikarima in the halves. So that's a positive, is that there isn't much to look at for Catalans. There isn't much for them to prep for. There's not a lot of evidence to look at and say, we know Salford are going to do this. Whereas there's a plethora of footage to look at for Salford. Even if there are a lot of the kids playing, there's a lot of evidence to look at and very little for Catalans to look at and really break down and say, we know this is what Salford's going to do. So that's the positive and negative. Reps as a team being one negative, and then the positive being they're a bit of an enigma possibly going into this. So you might get the likes of Nikarima or Brierley or Masters or Shorrocks doing something a little bit different, doing something unexpected, and that could go in their favour. Now for Catalans Dragons, there are positives and negatives. The negatives for them at the moment is, I think, in possession, they look really, really boring as an attacking side and might not be able to do that much damage against Salford. Also, I think they're a bit of a liability on the edges. So the likes of the 3-man or the 4-man in from the edges, they could be under a lot of threat, a lot of pressure, and could be beaten in 1v1 situations, and Salford could find line breaks there towards the edges. The biggest positive for Catalans at the moment is defence is looking a little bit more capable and is definitely looking better. So even if Salford have a full team available, I think defensively Catalans are showing that they are strong enough defensively to hold out even some decent attacking sides, and I think that will just be enough. And again, this is assuming Salford have a first team. I would also say the level of physicality that Salford would bring would be on a different level. I think that they would be absolutely gunning for a win and giving it absolutely everything they've got if it's a full team. So again, just to summarise, if Salford have to play with a bunch of kids, we all kind of know where it's going to go, and I'd be backing Catalans. If Salford have a full team available, I think the game would definitely be closer. But in all the areas that I've mentioned, Catalans would be in a much better position and I think would still get the job done. But you guys know how it goes with me in Salford games, and I wouldn't mind if I was wrong about Salford losing this week, because I'd actually just be very happy for them if they managed to get a win. But yeah, I'm going to go with Catalans Dragons 26, Salford Red Devils 18. Next up, we have Wakefield Trinity taking on the Leigh Leopards. Now, those that watched my Super League predictions video last week will know that I basically picked the winner at the end of the section. I had a scoreline that I picked ready to go, but I didn't have the winner yet. And in the end, I chose Wakefield. And thank God, Wakefield actually got it done for me, because I was a little bit worried about that one, thinking I'd gone against the grain and, but Wakefield, what a result. Like, I thought it'd be close, and I, backed them to win with a decent level of confidence. I still thought that they could win, but not like that. I mean, that's just ridiculous. Absolutely incredible. Now, the things to look at going into this week. First of all, Wakefield haven't won a game at home yet, which is weird to say, given how strong they've looked. They've not won a game at home. Keep in mind, the level of quality they've come up against. So they've played Saints at home, Hull KR at home, and Hull at home. So you can forgive them for losing those games. It's not the end of the world. No, they haven't won a game at home. They're against 3 strong teams, so it's not the end of the world. But one way of looking at it is that they are battle-hardened. They've played against some incredible opponents at home and still shown a decent level of quality. With Leigh Leopards, they got off to a good start of the season, but they are on a dip at the moment. They had the draw against Hull FC. They're obviously fine against Batley in the Cup. But then the fact that they lost against Hull KR is not the problem. It's the fact that they were so poor against Hull Kingston Rovers is the biggest issue. They were way off it. They were awful in possession. Defensively, I didn't even mind that much because Hull KR are a great attacking team. But in possession, they looked completely clueless. And then against Wakefield, barely in it. No chance. I mean, even if you want to take the interceptions away from Wakefield, they're not in it. They're not even close. There were some really lazy efforts defensively inside the red zone as well. I do think it'll be much closer this week because they'll know more about each other. There'll be certain things that they'll notice and think, I know what you're doing, son. So you're not getting me this week. That kind of thing. They know what each other team, what each other wants to do. I do think Leigh would probably execute much better attacking this week. And defensively, you'd think would put in a much stronger performance. Wakefield, they'll want to get that first win at home. And this is a really, really good chance for Wakefield to pick up silverware this season. Genuinely, it's actually possible for Wakefield to pick up a trophy this year. And this is, as we've already seen, a winnable game. I think the fact that the home crowd is going to be so up for this, like you would not believe. So the home support's going to be incredible. The efforts through the middle and the power through the middle, I think, is in favour of Wakefield. I think they are continuing to improve and get used to the pace of Super League and are continuing to get better in possession and out of possession. And I think the fact that they put in such a statement against Leigh at the weekend will just be playing on the Leigh players a little bit and will give Wakefield so much confidence going into this. The result, I think, will be a lot closer than it was. But I think those factors, they lean in favour of Wakefield. And they're starting to give me a lot more trust. And I will back them again this week, and I think that they can back up my prediction. So I'm going to go with Wakefield Trinity 22, Leigh Leopards 16. Next up, we have Hull FC taking on Hull Kingston Rovers. I cannot wait to watch this one. I just really hope it's a competitive game. And it's the atmosphere in Hull is going to be incredible for this. I cannot wait to watch this one. Hull FC, what I think they need to make sure of is that they restrict the flow of points early on. Hull Kingston Rovers have it in them to hit double digits before the clock hits double digits. That's within them as a team. If Hull FC can hold them out for a good 10-15 minutes, it'll stand them in good stead for the rest of the game. But Hull KR can definitely put up points in the first 5 to 8 minutes, possibly even earlier. But it's just about that initial wave. Because the speed that Hull KR play at, the intensity, the power through the middle, the fact that they look so well connected out wide as well, it's going to be difficult for Hull FC to stop them. But if they can just kind of just restrict those points early on. Keep it 0-0 for 10 to 15 minutes. It will do them the world of good. And something that I think would work out quite nicely for Hull FC, and it's just my opinion, I think in the forwards, FC is quite well matched here. Because, first of all, Herman SASA could do a lot of damage through the middle. And I mean a lot of damage. And if you think about the rest of the forwards, you got Liam Knight, who I think will do a solid job. You've got Aiden, who looks massive as well. And Ashworth. People aren't really talking about Ashworth. But he plays with a lot of intensity, plays a lot, like, really high speed, and puts in some really strong carries. So that forward pack of Hull FC is absolutely going to take the fight to the Robins. They absolutely will. And I don't think the Black and Whites will mind just a back and forth game. I don't think they will mind a few hit-ups and then a long kick from Caesar. A few hit-ups through the middle, out the back on the left-hand side to Caesar, he'll kick long, and they'll just, they'll chase well and try and pin KR back. I don't think they'll mind that. I think they'll happily take that for 80 minutes. And if it just takes a drop goal to win by 1-0 at the end, I think they'll take it. They don't mind getting into that grind there. I think that works out nicely for Hull FC. And I will get onto KR a little bit more in a second, but with Will Price, I think he's going to be playing this week. I have read that he should be available and should be good to go. There is a positive and negative to go into. The negative is just cohesion in attack. That in terms of the attacking structures, as a number 6, you want your number 6 to be heavily involved. So there could be a disconnect shifting the ball around. But the positives with him, first of all, as I've said, the grind that Hull FC will want to get into, they won't mind just going left to Caesar, kicking long. They don't need to go to Will Price. But the ways to get around with Will Price in there, number 1, if you want to go right, Caesar just moves right. Will Price is your first receiver, and then it's off to Caesar as like the number 6, or even Rappin playing as the number 1 is second receiver. And then they go into the attacking structures that they're comfortable with. So you just play Will Price as first receiver, and then he plays off what he sees. If he sees a little bit of space behind the ruck, he takes it. So he can do that. And the way that they've been using Cade Cust is a little bit like a fullback. And the fact that Will Price is a 6 and a 1, if they kind of use him the exact same way they've been using Cade Cust, Will Price is more suited to that style. Those sweeping runs towards the edges. And he's going to be coming up against Mikey Lewis, who I wouldn't say is, like, this is not to say he's bad defensively, but he's been beaten in 1v1s before by a few players. I mean, you saw him against Flanagan at the weekend, and there was another one where he's beaten. I mean, there was Bevan French in the grand final, but Mikey Lewis can be beaten in 1v1s, and Will Price could be looking at him as a target. So there are some positives there. But to get onto Hull Kingston Rovers, the thing for me with them is that it's so easy for them to break out of their own end. Like, you can kick long, you can chase well, but you can't pin them back. They either just beat you up through the middle, or they'll spread the ball early, attack the edges, and they'll gain like an extra, 10, 15 metres towards the edges every single play that they attack out wide. And they just work the ball out their own end so well. Mikey Lewis is on top form right now. And so if he gets a little bit of space towards the edges, he'll break open this Hull FC line, which defensively, Hull KR are stronger, and offensively, Hull KR are also stronger. So it might just be a case of, yes, FC might like the grind, but the Robins will also happy to get into that grind. They've got no issues with doing that, and they've got more individuals that can just have those sparks. And I think with Artur Morgan there, he offers sparks as well of quality. KR will happily go through the grind in the middle. They are better offensively and defensively, and I think that's just going to be the difference. Is it will be quite back and forth. It might be a little bit like a grand final early on where no team wants to show the hand. But I think as time goes on, I trust KR more to be defensively resilient enough and show more quality in possession. And it'll mostly be from Mikey Lewis, because he is difficult to stop. And especially if Hull KR get inside the red zone, You get the ball shifting out wide on the left-hand side to Lewis. You see him plant his left foot down to shift to the right. He's going to catch some people out. He could catch Will Price out and do a bit of damage to him. I've seen some Huddersfield fans comment about his defensive abilities. But I think that could be really interesting. Price versus Lewis could be very interesting this week. But as I say, over the course of 80 minutes, I trust Hull KR to just be strong on both sides of the ball. But I think Hull FC would like the grind a little bit more, and I think could actually do a really good job through the middle. But I'm going to go with Hull FC 20, Hull Kingston Rovers 28. Finally, for this round, we have Warrington Wolves taking on St Helens. Now, somebody in the comments of my last predictions video said that I need to have more faith in my team. I predicted Leeds to win. I'm still kind of looking at the reasons I gave for Warrington to lose this week, because I don't know whether to fully trust Warrington just yet. Now, one thing that I do need to give Warrington credit to, which I forgot to mention in the power rankings video, was against Leeds, we conceded 14 points and our backline was completely different to the week before. Our backline was Aaron Lindup, Ben Curry, Stefan Ratchford, and Jake Thulis. A completely different backline to what we had the week before against Saints. And the fact that we only conceded 14 points is actually incredible. I think some of that is a testament to our forward pack, which I think looks so much more impressive. The fact that we are now starting Musgrove and Vaughan and Harrison at 13 means that we are ready for the physicality from the jump. We're ready to take you on through the middle immediately. We saw that against Saints a few weeks back, and we saw that against Leeds. Both of those teams have really strong forward packs. Leeds did a fantastic job against Wigan the week before, and Warrington in the forwards did a great job against Saints the week before. I still think the biggest defensive issue for Warrington, even if we have a usual backline, there might still be Lindup in there. I'm not too sure who we're going to have. That's one of the question marks. I'm not too sure who we're going to have in the back line. But even when we did have our usual back line, over on the left edge defensively, there was not enough line speed. We were too disconnected and very easy to break down when Saints attacked the right-hand side with Saylor, with Robertson, with Benison, who I think was playing on the right wing at the time. So that's an area that Saints can really target. And they get Wellesby more involved down the right. They can do a lot of damage over there. And if there are still some changes or it's not quite the full backline we want, they'll do even more damage. That's the biggest concern. But it was a good sign to only concede 14 points with that backline that I've already mentioned. So through the middle, Warrington will be more competitive. But for St Helens, as time goes on, it's the quality and quantity of the forward pack that they've got. So I've already mentioned about Walmsley, can do multiple carries per set. Then you've got Leigh's offering a carry. You've got Knowles through the middle as well. Then later on, you've got Delaney, who runs exceptionally hard. He's done a really good job this year. Bell, if he's on the bench, could be a bit of a handful, playing in that 13 role. Can be a handful. Not necessarily to bring down, but to get a hold of, because he can be a little bit shifty. And then, of course, Ignatius Passy. So, as time goes on, I think Saints will look a little bit stronger through the middle. They also found it very easy to break out of their own end later in the second half against Warrington, where all Warrington needed to do when they had the lead was kick long, which Mark Sneed is still doing a great job with, but we weren't able to keep them pinned. It was very easy for Saints to work the ball out their own end. Just carrying the ball through the middle. They didn't even need to spread it to the edges. They just carried it through the middle and got some easy meters and quick play the balls for Darryl Clark. So that's my biggest concern. I think we'll start well and compete well early on in the middles. As time goes on, it will lean in favour of Saints. I'm worried about our left edge defensively because Saylor, Robertson, Benison, whoever's down that right-hand side, will eat up meters and find multiple line breaks possibly. And I think they're a better attacking team that can execute much better from line breaks than Leeds Rhinos, who had a few line breaks themselves against Warrington. So I think it's just over the course of 80 minutes through the forwards, the liabilities down the left edge defensively, I think we'll be ready for the physical battle through the middle. I think Sneed's long-range kicking game is going to be huge again this week. But I think it's another one of these games. If there was like one more quality performance from Warrington and maybe something that was a little bit dodgy from Saints last week or like a few weeks in a row, I would then lean towards Warrington. I'm fine being wrong in this one, by the way, but I'm going to go with Warrington Wolves 14, St Helens 18. So there you have my Challenge Cup quarterfinal predictions. If you've got your own, please do let me know in the comments down below. And also make sure you check out the Rugby League fan question that I pinned to the comments as well. But that's going to be it. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to leave a like. It does help to get the video out there to more people. Subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with more Rugby League content. And check out the Kinetic Rugby League website and store in the description down below. And that's going to be it. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.